Democrats now have clarity on one of the most hotly contested governor's races in a key battleground state heading into the midterms this November. Keisha Lance Bottoms scored a decisive victory in the Democratic primary last week, winning 56% of the vote, comfortably clearing the 50% threshold needed to avoid a runoff election. Here's some of her victory speech from Tuesday.
Georgians sent a clear message tonight that they want a fighter, someone who will stand up to Donald Trump and all of the chaos that's raising costs, that's hurt our economy. People have rightly asked, can it be done and can we win? And we know the answer is absolutely yes.
The former Atlanta mayor now shifts her focus to November's general election, where she's got a chance to not only make history as Georgia's first female governor, but actually as the first black woman ever elected governor of any state in the United States. But winning the governor's mansion in Georgia is not a sure thing. The Cook Political Report, the highly influential prediction of these things, has rated the race a toss-up. Now, that's a big deal that it's a toss-up. And Bottoms' Republican opponent is not going to be decided until June 16th. They're going into a runoff. That's when the Trump-backed Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, the guy on the left, and the billionaire healthcare executive Rick Jackson will compete in that runoff election. Just for some context, Burt Jackson, the challenger there, is a Trump acolyte. He acted as a fake elector to try and overturn Donald Trump's loss in the 2020 presidential election. In a normal country, that would be disqualifying from running for office. Now, whether or not the fact that he was a fake elector is going to help or hurt Jones's chances in a general election is a big question. If you want to understand how unpredictable Georgia truly is, just take a look at its current leadership. This is a state that sent two Democrats, Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, to the United States Senate, but at the same time, it kept a firm Republican grip on the governorship under Brian Kemp, who, in fairness, is not the Trumpiest guy there is. Kemp is now term limited, which is why the governorship in this key battleground state is up for grabs. Joining me now is an old friend of the show, Keisha Lance Bottoms, the Democratic governor for the Democratic nominee for governor of Georgia, previously mayor of Atlanta from 2018 to 2022. She's the author of the brand new memoir titled The Rough Side of the Mountain. Keisha Lance Bottoms, it is great to see you again. Boy, we used to talk a lot back in the day.
We did indeed, and it's great to be here.
All right, so you're in this race. You have one major advantage, and that is you're actually the Democratic nominee for governor, a decisive victory the other day. Your competitors are in a runoff, and the two competitors you face are both kind of out MAGA each other. So they're sort of in one department, and you're clearly in a different lane.
You're absolutely right. And listen, I'd much rather be me. It does give us an opportunity to get a head start for November. And that was our hope going into Tuesday's election, that we would be able to consolidate very quickly. But we're going to always run like we are the underdog, 30 points down, not 30 points ahead like we were polling in the primary. And we're going to take that same energy into November, not taking anybody for granted, talking to obviously Democrats, but also these independent voters and even these disgusted Republicans who are just looking for solid leadership, someone who's going to stand up, push back against all of the craziness that's coming from the Trump White House, but also making their lives better in this state through the economy. We've got a lot of challenges in this state that have gone unaddressed for quite some time, and that's the message we were taking across the state.
Okay, so tell me how you divide that up, because you mentioned three things. Number one, there's Trump and his unpopularity, and the fact that Georgia was like ground zero for, denying the election, and continues to be. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard was in Georgia for some weird reason in Fulton County dealing with votes from the 2020 election. So you've got that nonsense. Then you've got your own state's issues with affordability and, like everybody else, that the thing that motivates most people. And then once again, Atlanta is at the center of voting rights and the Voting Rights Act, and a place that overcame remarkable adversity for black voters, and they're back at it again in Georgia.
Yeah, so what we described internally was this quiet determination on our side. When people showed up to vote, it wasn't a noisy campaign. Republicans had put in over $100 million of their personal money into this campaign, and Democrats still bested them by 150,000 plus votes. So people are reflecting their voices through their votes. This issue of affordability was top of mind even before the big ugly bill. The cost of housing in Georgia is a huge problem. We've not expanded Medicaid in Georgia, so we've had 9 rural hospitals to close. We're falling in the bottom half in literacy rates in this state. People are concerned about job security. We are, of course, home to the CDC. A number of federal workers are right here in this state. So these issues were already top of mind. And now you add on that the war in Iran. We've got gas prices going up. People were already concerned about grocery prices. So we've just been trying to speak the language of the people, not just talking to people, but also listening to people about how they want me to deliver, God willing, when I'm elected governor.
You have an interesting situation in Georgia, which happens in a lot of states, including here in New York State, and that is that you've got very strong Democratic concentrations around your urban centers. 9 counties around Atlanta. You did very, very well in those particular counties. But in Georgia, because you've got a lot of rural areas, there's always that tension between the people who are from the rural areas not really liking the cities and all that kind of stuff. And then some argument that that's a thing Republicans are going to use against you, that you are Atlanta and Georgia is something else. Tell me your response to that.
Yeah, listen, we parked this campaign outside of Atlanta. I slept in Atlanta because that's where my house is. But even the last week of the campaign, we were all throughout South Georgia, and that was not our first time there. So we're going to keep talking to people across the state, going to where people are. What we hear repeatedly is that nobody cares about them outside of Atlanta. And it's my hope that my presence will continue to remind them that I do care about them, that their faces have become the faces of this fight for me. And it's been so instructive to me it's one thing to go through a community. It's another thing to go into a community. And going into communities, I'm able to hear directly from people, and it helps me frame where my focus should be, not just during this election, but preparing to lead the state.